Okay. Oh, domo, arigato. Oh no, I do it again. It's the beginning, right? Again. It's the beginning.
Onegaishimasu.
Live in the present, totally. So just start bouncing up and down with the body. Move your body a little bit. Play a little bit with the head, shoulders, knees, hips. Just really work everything. Hands a little through the toes. Play with the hands a little bit as well. Just really play with every part of the body. Okay, good. Just go a little bit into kind of front and back. Imagine the whole body's getting kind of pulled forward and backwards. So as if someone's attached a string to the chest. You're going to kind of pulled and pushed forward, pushed back, pulled forward, push back, pulled forward, push back. And these are really mobilizing exercises. Just I can feel the whole body. Try and energize the body in movement. Good. Just play with different qualities of movements as well. You've got kind of long, slow movements. You can also play with just kind of pulsing through parts of the body. Good. Just take it to side. Start to really shift the weight through the feet. Especially now really mobilizing this whole area of the body. As much as you can, try and stick to a kind of lateral movement. So really force you in a way to kind of open out this area. Again, just play with different kind of qualities of movement. Imagine a little bit. You can also, connection's kind of interesting thing with the body. You can play with lots of different ideas of connecting the body. I can connect the body as a kind of thing, floppy thing. And I can have the feeling like the arms kind of dragging the whole body. The foot's heavy, the arm's very light, and it's being kind of dragged away. You can play with kind of pulsing movements again, in a way kind of pulsing through the body. But you can also play with there's lots of different ideas. You can play with stretching different parts of the body away from each other. All of these are kind of different ways to think about using the body. So just really play with different ideas. And there's an infinite amount of ideas because whatever idea you can come up with in your mind can also translate it into body work. You can think about heavy qualities, light qualities. Children do this really well. You tell them to just imagine different kind of qualities of movement and they can really do it. And you can also do this idea like moving like water, moving like bamboo. Just really play with the body. And the main idea we play with in Aikido we'll go to now is center moving the periphery. So think of now the idea like the center moves out to the hands. So just playing quite loosely with it. And this idea kind of permeates everything we do in Aikido, so it's a really important idea. And the idea or the work is to try and make that idea really physical, try and embody the principle of center, periphery. And even when we do these very simple, kind of stupid exercises, they're really working on those kind of principles. a center periphery. And in a way, you want to make the principle kind of stupid as well. So if the principle is kind of correct, you should be able to really exaggerate it. So either it works or it doesn't for the body. And either it feels good or it feels bad, or it feels effective, it feels functional. It just has a quality of, oh, feels kind of nice. Then the principle's probably going to sound more sound than no. Let's play a little bit with this. Good. So play with different movements with the arms. Let's really explore the body a little bit. The good thing about these rotational movements is they also open out the arms to the front and the back. So really think about, in this case, we tend to overemphasize the front when we do our movements. So in this case, really allow the back to open out, especially with the one arm's really gonna, if I allow it, be thrown back. And just allow that whole space to open out. Whatever move you do with the hands, that's gonna happen. So that's it. Good. Good. And then we got the last one, just working with a spinal wave. And first, really just work on, just going to mobilize the spine. So try and imagine the rest of the body just goes kind of dead. There's no real feeling in it, also in the arms. And just imagine you can just mobilize the spine. So imagine that the lower body, almost like it's kind of stuck in sand or water. And then you want the upper body, as much as you can, just play with mobilizing a little bit. And sometimes I do these exercises with the chest. This is also included. So really just think about mobilizing a movement through the body. And again, just kind of enjoy it. So play with that. And really imagine again this kind of center moves periphery. Think about really the movement coming from the core. So the core out. And really try and again make that kind of physical. So really feel. And this is sometimes where kind of the breath work also really starts to naturally come into it. That there's a tendency. I was reading something yesterday about people being on the phones all day, and they call it kind of like screen apnea. They think when people go onto their phones and start scrolling on Instagram and Facebook and all these kind of things, WhatsApp groups, that their breath starts to really become very shallow, and almost the point most people stop breathing when they start scrolling, because they basically lose the body. The mind kind of enters into kind of digital space, and then they basically lose the sense of the body. So all these kind of online exercises, the really important thing is really embodying, getting back into the body. So really think about now also the breath. So think about using the breath just as a way to also really mobilize and energize the body. The worst thing I can do is kind of hold the breath in. Try and do these kind of things, but just let the breath. The bad thing is for the breath to be natural. But just imagine the breath's gonna kind of open out, explore the body, mostly working from the core. And this is where kind of sound effects, Kia is really useful for these kind of things, because they can really emphasize breath work. And then working out from that kind of core, imagine that kind of core movement's like a seed. It's a kind of rung of the movement, the seed of the movement, and then it's going to pass through the whole system. So just now explore this sense that the point from the center, this kind of point is going to open out through the whole body. And then what you want to do is kind of catch that wave. So you're going to kind of send a signal from the center, and then really kind of catch it with the whole body. And you can kind of ride it out with the arms, and also let the feeling drain down through the feet. So just work with this kind of feeling, and just let it kind of naturally ride out. So you kind of, and you can do this from a natural position, obviously, so you can kind of stand naturally and press the center out. But what you might find is easier to actually come into a kind of ready position and basically engage through the body, engage the core, and then I feel it's quite tight connected, and then I kind of release it and then ride it out. So just play a little bit. This is why when we do the spinal wave, it's nice to kind of come into this closed position. I kind of engage the hips, engage the center, and then release it out. So if you want to go back to this kind of basic, come to this, kind of close the body, open it out, close it, open it out. And in this case, I'm kind of riding the wave out and then passing it back. So in this case, the kind of wave has no target in a way. It goes back into the center. Imagine it's a wave that just passes straight back to the center. So it's a kind of internal wave because just being passed through the body into the ground and then back. Start to include the arms a little bit. If it's quite cold, start to really open the movement out. Open it out to the back, close it down. So start to now open the knees. If you like, bring the hands so that they touch the ground. Just play a little bit and just walk. That's nice. Nice, nice, nice. So he did these in the Seitai class. The guy was really relaxed, but he kept telling all the there was a group of Aikidoka in the group, and we're all kind of notoriously stiff because we're also from the TakeMUSU line. We're kind of stiff, so we were all kind of doing the wave, and he's kind of watching us like, oh, well, you're pretty stiff guys. So he kept telling us, relax, 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 and we're all thinking, yeah, we're pretty relaxed. But then when he showed it, he really totally relaxed. He really kind of opens out and then opens out to the ground. So he could totally relax through the whole system. But you can tell that the structure's also in place. So also one of the things with Seitai is this idea is the body's also in order. So although you're kind of loosening and relaxing, it's actually the relaxation is about just letting the structure fall and drop into place. So we tend to think about relaxation, the opposite is like tension. So either I'm in tension or I'm relaxed. Actually, just think of relaxation, real relaxation is just kind of allowing the structure to drop down. And that means the whole, especially the upper body for us, which is the key, is basically going to drop into place. And you can basically imagine imagine you take a coat and you put it on a coat rack, and you just let it kind of hang down. That state of kind of relaxation is the kind of state you want, which is basically like the body's just going to kind of release down, which doesn't mean the body's kind of really kind of floppy, but it means that the body's just going to rest down. So just see if you can basically, especially when you come down to these positions, really now let the arms loose. When you come down to this position at the back, really check the body's kind of loose. It should be kind of hanging. So imagine the whole body's kind of got this quality where you're just allowing it to be heavy. That's the kind of relaxation you want to kind of cultivate in a way. Just give it a try. And the majority of it's a feeling. So it's this kind of technical. You can kind of go to details, but the main thing is just feeling the heaviness of the body. Yeah. And really explore it. Yeah. Good. Okay, and most of you are kind of working on this kind of vertical. Just imagine you can also now kind of take it out a little bit. So imagine now you're kind of passing the wave out. And you can think about now, what I think about naturally, it starts to work into the copy. So just think a little bit now, nothing kind of really strict form, but just think about passing the movement out through the hand. Passing the movement out through the hand. So you can start with, what I find is easiest to start with this kind of wave. So clear, the kind of movement being passed through to the hands. So this, 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 and then just start to feel that you can slightly spiral it through the hands. This way, this way. Now, in essence, what you're doing is you're taking a kind of wave motion from the core, in that before you kind of pass it back into the core. What you're doing now is passing it out through the hands. So imagine you've got this quality now. You've got the center control, the core. You pass it up, pass the way through the body, and it's expressed out now through the hands. Now that the hands act like this kind of tip of the wave, and then naturally, the movement's going to kind of also arc back. But just focus for now, just on kind of passing it out. So don't worry about the kind of drawback or the kind of the recentering almost, but just think about passing it out. Even if that means a little bit throwing the balance out. So if it means a little bit coming out of balance, just so that you can get this feeling where you pass the hand out. And again, just play with mobilizing. So I want to express as fully as I can this move from the core. And it's done in a very, very light way, very playful. But the applications for this are really kind of endless in a way, all through the system. Just let it pass out. That's it. Nice. Okay, good.
Would you say that this rowing exercise that you sometimes see in different styles would be based on the same principle?
Yeah, I was not really taught that exercise, but I was shown that exercise by someone that's really, I would say has really got a sense of center power. And when he explained it, he's saying basically the same thing, is that you generate the movement in the core and you pass it out, and then you draw it back with the core. So I think actually any exercise that you do is kind of related back to that. So I read something yesterday about that exercise actually, I mean, it comes from Shinto, really. It comes from a kind of Shinto ritual, and it was I think it was taught to Deguchi, O-sensei's kind of religious teacher, and O-sensei took it from him, I think, and then he took it back into practice, and then Tohei really built on it. So most of the key schools teach that kind of exercise. But I think any kind of exercise like that is kind of it's designed on that same idea, that same kind of principle, yeah, that it's got that. But I was never really taught that exercise form, so I never really teach it. But I think anything that's based on that kind of expression out through the hands with a kind of relaxed quality, that's really got to be the same. Yeah. Okay, let's just see. Yeah.
I find in this movement actually is that I need to relax my back leg as well, because otherwise.
Yeah. Also, yeah.
Just lowering the hip and moving in a linear, no, more or less linear wave, or bobbing over.
I think also that's actually that's a good point. Just play with the legs now, because you've done these kind of movements, or you've probably done from this kind of stance walking out. This for me is really the base, because it really allows me to just explore the feet, just sinking, draining down. Now just explore a little bit like what Bernie's talking about, is basically where I'm going to shift the weight. So I'm going to start to shift the weight through the feet. Now I'm not going to teach any kind of exercise for it, but just explore it. So just explore basically the feet getting now dragged through the movement too. Now, whatever you do in movement, you always need an anchor with the ground. So unless I'm kind of jumping off the ground, which is very rare, then I basically need one point of anchor in the ground. So just explore. We talk about really compression through the ground now. So think about, rather than pushing down through the leg, just think about letting the body, as you move through the move, just let the weight drain down through the foot, drain down through the foot, drain down through the foot, and then just let it kind of pass through this way. So just play a little bit with the legs, with the hands. And obviously we use these movements when we come into kind of kokyu. These work and come in through into Taina Henko. So if you want, explore them through that, but I actually prefer in the moment, just really explore it slightly outside of the form. Outside, so that I can just, naturally you'll once you kind of work with a form, because most of us train so long in Aikido, you will naturally start to move into Aikido movements. Your body will just kind of almost go there. But just for now, just imagine you're maybe just taking a step through. Just let the arm kind of release. And really at the moment, just allow the body to just resettle. So forget about the focus, which is actually not the hand. So again, the focus of the movement is not really the hand, it's actually still the core. So just play a little bit with stepping, maybe stepping back, very simple moves. Maybe turning a little bit. Just imagine all the time you've got a very, very clear point of contact with the ground. Just receives the body. You can also now really minimize the work of the hands. So we're going really now to the focus in the feet and the body. Good. Just play a little bit with it. Let's see. Okay, good. So the main thing when you do this kind of work is don't think it. So when you do these kind of steps, don't think through the head. Just really imagine you kind of drop the head. All the feeling goes down. And really imagine you work from the center. So really imagine you work really from the center. Wow. Just imagine the whole body's going to move really from the core. Wow. So the whole core of the body's going to kind of do this. Does anyone remember that film Donnie Darko? There was a really great film, Donnie Darko, but they ended up near the end of the film, they had these kind of tunnels, and they were kind of time of where people were moving. And it was basically coming out from the center of the body. It was like a big tube of energy, really. It was kind of moving forward. So just imagine you've got this kind of center, there's a kind of line that kind of runs through, and kind of imagine it and then go, just let it kind of drag the body through. Kind of imagine a line which is either forwards, backwards, really from the core, and then just imagine the body gets kind of pulled that way. Just play a little bit with it. Good. Yeah. Good. Also with rotation. Good. Okay. Okay, good. Just the last exercise, I just want you to play with the kind of passing it out through the hands now and coming basically into a kind of position. So actually position's the wrong word. You're going to come through and you're going to find this kind of position. Oh, it's the wrong word. I can't find a better word now. But just about, you come into settle this way. So I just want you to now, whatever movement you're playing with, you can play with anything forward, backwards, sideways, rotations, all these kind of movements. The simpler, the better. But really focus again, really find the center, pass the movement through the spine, and then really feel, You're gonna really pass it forward. Or pass it forward's the wrong word, don't listen to that. Pass it through the system and really find the kind of koku settling at the end. And then just release it. And then just find another position, find the center, play with the center, pass it through the spine, ground through the feet, let the weight compress, and then find the feet. Find the position. And then try it again. Rinse and repeat. Okay. Okay, so the main problem with this work, when we start going to extension, I don't like the word extension because it's like you've got two parts of it. The main part I don't like is this tension. Extension, extension. So we tend to go into extension. And the X bit I also don't like because it means something's kind of external. Extension. So I don't really like the word extension. So I think much more about expansion. So think much more in this case about the body's expanding. It's expanding out from the core. But I'm not using tension to do it, and I'm not actually external. So there's nothing actually kind of out of the body. Everything's really included from the core. So really, in this case, I think the koku work's really about breath work, and it's about the breath uniting with the hand work, or the hips, that breath, but the whole body. So just think now about, basically, it's not about why I don't like the term position, because it's not about a position. It's actually about the whole thing. So you can actually express koku in any position. So it's nothing to do with position. And it's nothing to do with the hands being in a certain position. It's actually something else, which is about a kind of open expansion. So just play a little bit, maybe simplify the movements a little bit, and just play with the body's basically going to do this. This. So just play with it a little bit. Also, you got these kind of classic Tainenko positions, koku, these kind of Marotadori positions. All of these are really classic positions, but it's really about something else. Nothing to do with position, which is not so easy. Good. Now, if you think of kind of wave work or centered wave work, if you think of a wave hitting the shore, it's got a kind of target. So if you think about the wave gets drawn up and then it goes boom onto the coast. So it's actually got to imagine a pebble or if you imagine a person standing on the beach, the wave's got a kind of target. It's going to kind of drop everything onto the person. So a kind of wave without a focus is useless in a way. Because in terms of martial arts as well, so if I have a wave movement, but it's got no focus, then the wave basically dissipates out. It's got no target. So wave work is always best with a target. So if you can imagine in this case, something I'm actually projecting through and into, which is why the sword work's the best way, which we're going to go into next, I promise. We're going to go into the sword work where you've basically got a very clear target. But just for now, just think about the body and the hands, basically hitting a target. Which isn't even about hitting a person or hitting something. It's about actually visualization that the body's actually going to go towards one point. Something goes and actually connects with something else. So extension work, connection work is actually about you connecting to something else. So the main work is actually you connecting to the ground, connecting your own body. But the next step from that obviously is connecting to something not you. So just focus now on having kind of target with the movement. And it's not necessarily about hitting something, but it's about having a kind of point or focus. That's it. That's it. As well as kind of wave work imagery, this kind of work, you can. There's a nice image I got from a teacher, which is also, if you imagine like an arrow coming from the center. So if I like I do archery, so it's kind of nice practice for focusing the energy. So have the feeling in this case you've got the kind of center connecting to the hands, and then imagine at one point, this works better with a kind of ski work, but imagine at one point the center's kind of connecting through the fist, this like a kind of arrow, and then it kind of draws it out. So imagine that the arrow is going to kind of boom and basically hit a target. But in this case, if we're working with kind of koku work, it's the same idea. This way is like this and then this. Now in a kind of Aikido work, we're looking much more in terms of spiral work. So imagine a kind of something coiling out, but it's going to also hit it's going to hit a kind of target. So it's got a kind of maximum distance there. And I don't know, in the case of the arrow, to kind of fly away and pull the body out. So just, if you like, just use this kind of imagery, which is nice, which is kind of sense that the center connects, right? And this is true for any kind of move that we do. You can use this as kind of visualization, even these kind of rotador movements. There's something kind of pressing out from the center through the hands. Now that's it. That's it. Very nice. Right. Okay, we're actually going to do Joe work because it's actually one idea that comes from this is the arrow is actually the spear, which is actually in terms of the Joe work. Bokken work's a little bit more simpler to work with because you're actually working with the downwards energy, the downwards kind of arc through the sword. So, but in this case, you're working a little bit with the kind of koku work out and down. Just start with the body, just taking a. You're just going to have the feet here, it's like this, and just let the Joe rock through the body. So there's no focus now. Go back to having no focus again, and just let the body energy sink, and just start to have the feeling you can release through the arm. The big problem when we come to weapon work is that as we go into focus, we go into tension. So again, try and have the feeling that there's no point where the body's actually in tension. There should be very, very little tension. And if I feel tension in the body, try and release it. Especially now you might feel it in the shoulders, shoulder blades, maybe the hip, the knees start to lock maybe. So just keep an eye on tension through the body. If you feel it, just release it. If you can't release it, just know it's there. And just kind of try and bring your mind to it. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, exactly. Good. All right, good. So the main problem with going out is the loss of the down. So in this case, really have the sense the feet can be very, very calm. So really feel, again, it's as if like the lower body's really stuck in kind of sand or near kind of water, something kind of heavy. But try not to have the feeling in this case where the body's going to kind of, the lower body especially is not going to do this. This is okay for kind of mobility work, and these kind of stuff's really great for mobilizing the body. But right now, think about the body's basically just the lower body's just gonna do this. And the more out I go, the more down I need. This, and the more out I have and the less down I have, the more my balance gets thrown out. And then the body's going into kind of full tension. So just feel the body's gonna sink down. That's it. And try this on both sides. It's very light. And it's not that the hips and the lower body is immobile, it's that it's just constantly draining. But it's definitely not being pushed out of the ground. This is a really different way to use the body. So there's pushing out of the ground and falling through it. I want the body really to fall through the ground. Or relax through the ground is probably better. That's it. And the more calm the lower body is, the more the upper body is free to express the center work. That's it, very nice. And just keep changing sides every now and then, every now and again. Okay. Good. Okay, and I don't want you to focus it again. This is really about trying to find in a sense, the kind of essence of the movement, which is about, again, it's a kind of arc. So a little bit like the sword work. The essence of the sword cut is basically an arcing movement away from the body. So in this case, the arcing movement is down this way. So really get a sense now that you've got the kind of lower body sinking down. Once that's really in place and settled, start to feel now that you can mobilize the center through the move. And it's now got this kind of quality. So just imagine you've started now with a real sense of looseness. This is very loose. Everything's just going. And now start to basically firm the connection up. So I'm starting to now focus on the breath, the handwork, and now it's got a sense much more like kind of archery. Drawing out and then boom, releasing it. So now it's got this quality of, so it's got much more now a kind of heavy feeling. Just start to have the sense of that. Basically doing something much firmer now. So just play a little bit. And again, the smaller I can make the movement, the bigger chance I have to kind of find the feeling. So just play a little bit with the movement. And this should be a really kind of internal movement from the center, from the core. And again, it's actually about relaxation fundamentally, even though you're starting to kind of firm the connection up. The relaxation should still be there. This is the main problem we have in Aikido. We start to go into tension straight away. That's it. Good. That's okay. And sometimes the positioning gives you a real gift because it gives you basically a position where you can just act from. Now, in this case, this is really important whether my kama is here, or here, or here, or here, or whether it's just done, connected to the hip. So in basically in this kind of kama, what you're looking for is as you come back, that I feel that the hand basically is connected in together. So that kind of kama is really a gift. Now, as soon as I go into these kind of positions, or this, then I'm basically, it's not impossible to connect the hip to the hand, but it's a bit more difficult. So if I think about the initial kama position, it's designed to actually just connect the hip work to the hand. So that kind of quality of, we talk about kind of loading the hip or loading the hand through the hip, this is really designed for it. So just feel that you can actually now pull back into this position. It's like when you do karate, it's like this. This is really a gift for the hand and the hip because it's in contact. And then from that, the connection is actually much easier. Whereas if I start here, the connection's loose. So really use that gift in the command. It's really right there. There we go. That's it. Okay, you naturally start to go into it now. Just go into it now as ski. So find the position. Really feel that you kind of load it. It's basically like springing the body. So it's in a kind of ready position. And then just now release it. Through the ground, don't slip on the floor. And then just, you can either change sides or stick with the same side. It really doesn't matter with the jaw. Connect the grip, find the kamae, and then just essentially release it forward. And then find the ground. So just working a little bit with it first. But focus a little bit, don't focus on the focus on the very initial movement, so the motivation of the move. And the focus can be as light or as heavy as you like, as long as it doesn't detract from the movement. Okay. Just watch one thing. So if you're doing this, when you get this position, as you go, you do this, and then you do this. So that what's actually happening is the body's doing it. The upper body's doing this kind of movement. Really get the sense from this kind of relaxation work that the actual core is going to drop down, but it does this. So the upper body stays elongated through it, but it doesn't get drawn out by it this way. So really feel as you initiate this movement, the core is going to drop down, but the body's not going to do that kind of movement. So just imagine the whole weight of the body's going to drop down, and then drop through. So the body breaks the vertical, but it doesn't come out of the vertical entirely. That's that position. Nice, nice, nice. That's it. So just focus now on the settling at the end, which is when we talk about grounding. Settling is another way to talk about it. So if you think about the end, what I don't want to happen, the body gets kind of and then draws back, finds its balance. So what you want is a kind of immediate way for the body to kind of travel and settle into the ground. So if you imagine a kind of wave passes through the body, through the tip, out, but the body's actually grounding down or settling down. Is actually a better way to do it. So the body's just going to settle the ground. So the lower body just goes into place, and the upper body does what it does. But just look for now this idea where you're basically going to transmit the body forward, and really settle the body through the movement. There. Just play a little bit with that now, settling at the end. And this is much more to do with not doing something than doing something. So it's not a movement you do, it's a movement you let happen. So you let the body, boom, settle into the ground. The more you can allow that, the more you will ground. That's it. Good. Now, when most people do this kind of grounding, they do one thing, they stiffen the body. So they become hard through it. And one thing that tends to happen is the breath stops as well. So in a sense, they go here and then they do. I think I'm actually grounded. What I've actually done is just create tension through the body. So try and distinguish, make a distinction between kind of stiff and heavy, stiff and tight, stiff and tight, or relaxed and grounded. So the movement, if you think about it, you're never going to really stop you're going to strike, move, strike, move, strike, move. So there's never going to actually be a state, even though we stop a lot in this style, there's never going to really be a state where I actually stop fully. There's always going to be something else coming. So in essence, what you want to do is create a sense of stillness rather than fixed. And then actually the body's not actually settled. So really look at a sense of settling the body down, where the body's actually relaxed through the movement. So just look for that, which is the kind of paradox of it, because you're doing something very heavy and very focused, but you need the body to release. Just give it a try. That's it. So you want something that's very heavy, but not fixed. That's really the key. Good. So I would say your own body's the best thing to listen to, not the teacher. So the teacher's just a kind of guide, and sometimes also ignore the teacher because they talk a lot of rubbish. So in this case, what I see a lot is a lot of people do this. You go back, you release, and then you go back. So there's a moment where you find that relaxation. The body goes there naturally, and then you go back. But basically, listen to that moment, which is basically that's the feeling I want to generate here. So I want the feeling the body's actually relaxed here at this point. But what I want to listen for is like, and then back. So the body will go into relaxation naturally, and you'll either block it or you allow it, basically. So try and allow it more. So just look for that feeling, which is basically here, 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 here. It's always actually in the movement. So that kind of relaxed state is actually the natural movement. So it's actually the relaxation is the natural state of the body, and we do everything in our minds to make it the other thing. So look for that kind of natural state, which actually always you're going to be relaxed. Hopefully, the more relaxed, the more efficient you are. The more power you can generate. And really just listen to what the body does through the movement, especially with the movement like this, which is very basic. You can really go into details with it. Yeah. Very nice. Good, Serena. Good. 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 Okay, good. So we'll finish with the 6-count kata. Most of you know it, I think. So we'll just go into it. Do it really slow just to start. So again, just find the kamae, really load it into the head. And just for the start, just nice and slow. Find the movements. Roll to the back. Striking down, rolling back. And just make it really, really calm. So calm and clear as you can. And just work with the steps down, just in your own time. If you've got any questions, just ask, but I think you all know it, so just keep going. Okay. Yeah. Good. You see if you can basically translate all this work we've done basically through these movements. So just focus on basically these points where you create the focus of basically the striking points. So you've got 3 in the kata. You've got 1, 2, and then 3. This way. And in this case, really put everything into these focus points so that basically I want, even though through we work on relaxation and I want to refocus everything out. So even though it's relaxed, it's still got a sense of right. So if you look at the top archers in Japan, they have a total sense of relaxation, but they still have the sense that the whole body's full of energy. So that the whole body's got this quality, everything's focused on one point, just everything. So the mind, the body, everything's focused on that point. But there's no sense of kind of So especially when we do solo work and we do slow work, really do it with a sense of full feeling. So even slow, especially slow, do it really with a sense that you really finish with full feeling, which has nothing to do with strength and rigidity. It's got all speed. It's got just to do with feeling. Something else. Just imagine all concentration, everything just goes to that one point, all into the focus. That's it. And I'll just finish with one point where we started from, which is this idea of center to periphery. So really look at now this quality where you initiate the move with the center and the hand goes. I found this rock on the beach yesterday, and basically if you think about, I do a little demonstration, but if I think about, in this case, basically if I've got the rock and I feel like my arms become dead. Now in order to, if I want to kind of move the rock away, if I want to throw the rock away, I can't do it by raising the arm. So I can't do it by doing this out because my arm's gone dead. So if I need to move the rock from the hand, I basically need to initiate it from a center movement. And then I basically get this kind of swing. And then I think I kind of generate the movement with the center, and then the arm starts to release the movement. And then if I can generate that, then the stone will kind of naturally get pulled out of the hand. So this is the kind of quality you want when you do the Dojo work. You want to sense that as you initiate the movement, the center presses it out, the center initiates it, and then comes through into it. So play now with the form. If you only know the basic well, just stick with the basic, and you can do the same thing. The center initiates, center, 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 center. Even all the movements have this quality, so the center to the hands. So just focus the last few just on that kind of quality. Again, it's really essential. And the bigger I can make that movement, the more obvious I can make it, the easier it is to kind of refine it. So at the moment, it's a little bit exaggerated. Oh, look. Great. Very nice. So just even exaggerate it a little bit. Make the center initiate. Oh! There we go. Good. Luis always told me, Saiki Sensei would say in the dojo, he would tell them in the mornings, doing a kata 3 times with full intention, full feeling, full body. He probably didn't say that. Is much more useful than doing thousands of repetitions with no feeling, no concentration, no energy. So really, the key thing for me is short bursts of movement or short bursts of concentration. Really that, and then if I can't hold it, I basically do nothing. So for me, it's actually better to do nothing than do a kind of, in a way, practice which is kind of has no kind of focus. So as soon as I feel I'm dropping down into that kind of level, also the same with the archery, as soon as I drop out of that concentration, take a break, go have a tea, and then come back with a state where you can really focus on something. And the moment I feel, oh, that's gone, stop. So a lot of the time in dojos, we keep going when actually our concentration is naturally dropped below the point when you want to train. And we keep going because sometimes the dojo carries you with you. But in this case, when we're training on our own, it's important to know also when the concentration dips. And it's actually better to stop, watch everyone else, or don't do anything, take some water and do nothing. And then come back to the practice, so you've got a really concentrated practice at the end. So just do one more, we'll just finish with it. And just forget the camera, forget everything, forget me, and then just go into the kata, just one last time. And then we will bow up. Great. Okay, so, domo.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.